Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen. Cloud Imperium have responded to the community and the Anvil Valkyrie will be getting some ability to hold cargo safely, as potentially will some other ships as well that previously couldn't hold cargo. And this is coming for 3.6 it seems, as are many other things. Changes to space stations, the Vanguard Warden, and maybe some NPC behaviours, although it has been pushed out to 3.7 listed on the roadmap. But we will talk about all of this and more in today's video. Cloud Imperium Games Xylo posted a thread on Spectrum, Anvil Valkyrie cargo update. Hi everyone, we received a lot of feedback requesting clarification surrounding secured versus unsecured cargo and desire for the Anvil Valkyrie to carry cargo. We spent some time thinking about how this could impact game balance and feel that we've landed in a sweet spot that will excite many of you Valk pilots out there. First, let's start talking about the differences between cargo stored via cargo grids versus cargo manually placed on a ship. For all vehicles, there will be no physical limitation against carrying cargo other than the basic need for a space to place it. Cargo grids make carrying cargo much more convenient and practical, as not only do they secure the cargo, but they will also allow you to use kiosk terminals to load and unload your ship. By comparison, cargo not secured to a cargo grid is at risk of causing damage to the surroundings or the cargo itself and must be manually stowed and placed, as it isn't connected to the cargo grid kiosk interfaces. Finally, the moment many of you have been hoping for, in Star Citizen Alpha 3.6, we will be adding a cargo grid to the Anvil Valkyrie, occupying the same space as the vehicle storage. Since the Valkyrie's design is not dedicated to hauling freight, its cargo grid technology will be relatively basic. It will not have the functionality to stack cargo layers high, but Valkyrie operators will now nevertheless be able to have the option to choose to use the cargo grid to either secure cargo or embark a vehicle. We're also planning to take a look at a variety of other ships to determine if there are more opportunities to make a similar change by adding similar cargo grids to spaces that make sense. So this is pretty cool. The Valkyrie will have a cargo grid, as potentially will some other ships now that didn't have them before, and is an example of Cloud Imperium shifting balance and responding appropriately, I think, to community requests. I personally was not too bothered about the Valkyrie's cargo situation originally. I suspected they might do something to fix this or allow a module to have cargo or something like that, or they would explain it away with, it makes sense that some ships can't do all tasks. But admittedly, it didn't really make much sense to leave that space just for a vehicle when you could easily put cargo there. I'm glad they changed their minds. I'm interested to know whether you can put a vehicle and some cargo there. If I put a Ranger bike, can I also put cargo there? I assume I can, but it's sort of like implied in Xylo's statement it was one or the other, but we'll have to wait and see. I suspect it will be both, but it will just take up a certain amount of room, a vehicle of cargo. This makes the ship extremely versatile now as well for mission running and a whole heap of other uses for, I suspect we'll see them really commonly in game now, and small, medium, large orgs will all use these. I mean, for a smaller org, this could be literally their main ship. They could be their sort of flagship. RSI subscribers can actually currently purchase a Valkyrie until the 17th of June. They should also go back on sale a couple of times this year, most likely, almost certainly at CitizenCon on the anniversary sale in November. And you may even be able to buy and rent them in game very soon, as 3.6 adds rentable ships to the persistent universe, as well as mixing up what ships we can buy, or at least adding to them. Let's take a look at some procedural station updates. So, they are evolving and making space stations larger, more diverse, more interesting. As with most things in Star Citizen, they are building them out in a modular way, with assets being added to a library, and then they can be used across many stations or as part of their procedural generation. They do handcrafted additions and set dressing and stuff like that as well in addition, but a lot of the systems will be handled procedurally when they make these stations, but they do a lot of sort of like, they check all the stations out. They might generate 100 stations and then go, this one is great for this area. They sort of like, it's procedurally assisted and then chosen by devs or then partly handcrafted. But they do plan to have hundreds and hundreds of these stations in game. The interiors are also part of the system, making sure that internal parts reflect the exterior, but also provide the station's needs while giving variance. They don't want 10 Kasaba outlets on a station, for example, or just billions of landing pads. This will be used for rest stops, refineries, cargo outposts as well. There's going to be major stations for landing zones, but also tons of minor ones that will incorporate missions, but are described as the bread and butter of the player experience. So expect to see loads and loads and loads of these even in Stanton. The procedural nature of their generation should mean that they each look different and feel different, but all have the appropriate facilities and sort of like have some shared assets. They all look like a space station should look like, although there might be a good amount of variance there. 3.6 will see larger exteriors and updates to stations in the game, and 3.7 will see much more of an expansion with interiors being updated as well as iterating on them and starting to marry the two. Let's take a look at bartenders. So they've been recording lots of crazy bartender mocap and improving the NPC bartender behaviors. They previously had like a very simple set of tasks, but they're working on extending the behaviors for modular bars so they can build bars out in any way they want, and that will affect what the sort of like bartender can do and how they interact with the bar. And there's going to be a huge range of animations and tasks that the bartender NPCs can do. They looked at countertops and mixing drinks and cocktails, serving drinks, cleaning, putting items away, some variants of these, serving customers, interacting with patrons. There is around 25 cocktails that they were sort of like, they mocapped for, and they may allow the bartender to make with different animations. They might not use them all. They will tailor this to be a sensible amount of animations and that sort of stuff. If they only need 10 cocktail animations to make the game feel alive, and that's what they use. How the bartender interacts with NPCs and the player is obviously an important part of this sort of like immersion and behavior update, and that's what the idea here is. It's to get players immersed in a more realistic bar experience and sort of like breathing life into these social areas of the game. That's incredibly important for Star Citizen's persistent universe. They did mention that they were looking at having these bartenders on ships as well, ship bars. If I can hire a barman for my 890 jump, then that is a epic win for me. Vanguard Warden stuff. So part of the Warden rework was to bring it back in line with its original concept and role. They have re-added glowing intakes to make this sort of like profile and the front of the ship look a lot more aggressive. It has shoulder-mounted missile bays, which are apparently sort of like opened and deployed when you have your landing gear out as well. I assume that's just for aesthetic reasons and that you still are able to open and fire them in a dogfight automatically. The ship's been made sleeker and updated with the Retaliator's materials. There are large support columns that give the ship at the rear a sense of scale and toughness, helping to support those large rear engine nacelles. The landing gear has a mix of tyres at the front and tracks at the back. The central module has been widened for, in this case that we're showing, for the Warden's living module. The rear ramp has also been widened, and I believe the size and widening is the same across all of the Vanguards, which are now much more modular, effectively, and sort of like standardized. They're now moving on to damage states and LODs for the ship to finish it out. I'm actually thinking about it, really happy about the Valkyrie getting a cargo grid. Even if it's, and it makes sense to have it as just a limited cargo grid, so it can take a reasonable amount of cargo, not a huge amount. You don't want it to be a cargo freighter as well as a dropship, as well as a vehicle carrier. You don't want it to sort of like be the best ship you can for all of these roles. But yeah, give it a reasonable amount of cargo. Great. That's what people wanted. Respond to that. I'm really looking forward to seeing the bartenders as well. But the new space stations, that's the sort of stuff that we're going to be seeing so much in Star Citizen. That's what's going to make space look amazing and great, and give us sort of like, I want to go and explore all these space stations that are around, and some of them are going to have potentially like unique inventories or a particular shop that I want. And when you land on a sort of like one of these rest stops or whatever, you're not necessarily going to know what shops it's got aboard. So you go out and go, oh, I didn't even know I wanted one of these, but I'll buy this. And that's the sort of experience I want while my ship is being refueled or cargo is being unloaded. So very excited about seeing those larger stations. Vanguard Warden, it's a cool ship. I'm much more interested in what its loadout's going to be, what its components are going to be, and how it performs in game, because that is the main thing for me. It's supposed to be this like longer range heavy fighter that's very tough, but up until now, it hasn't really found its place in the verse. It needed balance, it needed the new flight model, really it needs physicalized components and all that sort of stuff. A lot of these ships, obviously then nowhere near in their sort of like finalized states when it comes to balance, because they don't have all the systems in place for the game yet. Physicalized components being the most major one that I can think of at the moment. Anyway, if you have any questions about what we talked about, I'd love to hear from you. Are you excited for the Valkyrie getting cargo, or are you annoyed by it? Do you think CIG caved? Whereas I suppose they responded to the community. This is the sort of stuff they do need to respond to, in my opinion, as well. Sort of like the balance and annoyance about certain things, like, why can't it do that? It's not going to break the game, is it? Why not allow it to have cargo? And that's what they've done. And hopefully we'll see this as a trend throughout lots and lots and lots of things in the game. And it has been previously. They do respond to the community. They do change bits up. But whatever your thoughts, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Every month we have a ship giveaway. For June, we have an Origin 890 Jump, the massive luxury ship that should also be flyable with Alpha 3.6 at the end of the month. That is a huge sort of like capital luxury ship. It's been donated by Odyssey Interstellar, a friendly industrial expansionist organization in Star Citizen that focus on mining, trading, industry, exploration, research, and infrastructure. In short, commerce is their goal. They run regular weekly events in-game now. Please check them out if you are looking for an org to join. Links down below. There are a couple of services I shield for as well that you might find useful. If you're looking for a VPN, then check out NordVPN. I use it for security, privacy, and more. It has massive advantages over free VPNs. And if you use the code BoredGamer, you get up to 75% off your subscription. Boom! Also, there is Shadow Cloud Gaming. This is an alternative to having your own or upgrading your gaming rig on PC. It leverages the power of the internet and your own Shadow server that emulates a high-spec Windows 10 PC, so you can play up to 144Hz 4K anywhere with an old PC, laptop, smartphone, or even tablet. Freedom to play anywhere. The internet is good enough anyway, and it works really well with Star Citizen and all the games that I play, and is constantly updated and even improved with new hardware. Again, use the code BoredGamer for discount. Links below to all of that jazz. Thank you to all that support the channel through Patreon, the YouTube join button, donations, subscribe star, as well as anyone that just generally subscribes, likes, comments, and shares my content. Dings that bell, ding ding. If you feel so inclined, you can find links to all of that down below. A special thank you though to my VIP producers this month: Dalamars, Catastrus, Raz, Gear Khan, General Aventador, Robert Johnson, and Andy Green, who have given well beyond the norm in support for the channel. I know a load of other people have, but I can't name them all. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the verse.